She had 60 seconds before the man with the gun decided if she lived or became his. The penthouse, the briefcase, the four men who shouldn't exist. Amara Santos stepped into the wrong suite at 9:40 p.m. and walked straight into a crime worth $8 billion. And a billionaire who never begged, never threatened, and never lost. His deal was simple: $2 million. Her brother walks again. She lives in his world, under his roof, asking no questions. Clean, controlled, irrevocable. Except the evidence he gave her proved he wasn't just a corporate titan. He was an arms dealer responsible for hundreds of deaths, hiding behind intelligence contracts and lies. And she had 2 hours before his next shipment wiped out an entire city. Expose him, her brother dies. She goes to prison. Stay silent, she becomes his accomplice, and something far more dangerous. Because the longer she stayed, the more she realized this wasn't just power, it was grief, a dead daughter, a man using control to survive the guilt. They say every choice has a cost. They don't tell you some choices bind your heart to the very person you should destroy. This is what happens when you fall for the devil you were sent to expose. And just when she thought she knew who the villain was, she learned the truth. The billionaire wasn't the end game, and the reason she'd been chosen, it had everything to do with love, and everything to do with betrayal.
Kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and it doesn't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video.
The door shouldn't have been unlocked. Amara realized that the instant her foot crossed the threshold, and the quiet inside the suite felt wrong. Not empty, but alert, like something watching. The carpet swallowed the sound of her steps. The lights were low, deliberate, expensive. This was not a storage room, not an office overflow, not any place she was supposed to be. She froze. "Don't move." The voice came from behind her, calm and lethal in the way men sounded when they were used to being obeyed. Her heart slammed hard enough to make her dizzy. She raised her hands slowly, palms open. "I'm sorry, I'm lost." A pause, then footsteps, measured, unhurried. Whoever he wasn't afraid of her. "Turn around." She did, and understood immediately why people followed him. Nikolai Volkov stood a few feet away, jacket off, sleeves rolled to his forearms. Not towering, but solid, controlled. His face was carved into something severe and beautiful in the way of old statues. No softness wasted, no warmth offered freely. His eyes were the dangerous part, pale, observant, already deciding what she was worth. He took her in with a glance that lingered a second too long to be professional. "Who are you?" he asked. "Amara Santos. I work upstairs, housekeeping. I was told to grab archived files from—" She swallowed, lying, badly. Her pulse was loud in her ears. "Housekeeping doesn't wander into my penthouse." That word landed like a blow. Penthouse. Her mistake crystallized all at once. Wrong elevator, wrong floor, wrong door. "I'll leave," she said quickly. "I swear I didn't see anything." His gaze flicked to the tablet on the table behind her, then back to her face. Something tightened at the corner of his mouth. "You saw enough." She should have run. Every instinct screamed it, but something else held her there. Gravity, maybe, or the strange way his attention felt like a hand at the small of her back, steadying rather than threatening. "Please," she said, "I'm just trying to pay for my brother's treatment. I don't want trouble." That did it. Not pity, recognition. Nikolai studied her differently now, less like a threat, more like a variable. "Close the door," he said. Her breath caught. "Close it," he repeated, softer, more dangerous. She obeyed. The lock slid home with a sound that echoed too loudly. The air shifted. He moved closer, not crowding her, but close enough that she could smell him. Clean, expensive, something darker beneath it. Leather and winter and restraint. "You didn't come here by accident," he said. "I did." "You don't have the eyes of someone who wanders." Her hands were still raised. He noticed. Gently, he lowered them himself, fingers barely brushing her wrists. The contact was brief, intentional, electric in a way that startled them both. Something unreadable crossed his face. "You're shaking," he observed. "Because you locked the door." "Because you are afraid," he corrected. "And because you are curious." She hated that he was right. "What happens now?" she asked. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he poured another glass of water and handed it to her, an offering, a test. "Drink." She did. Her fingers brushed his again. This time, neither of them pretended it was an accident. "Now," he said, "you tell me exactly why you were really here." She could have lied again. She could have said anything, but the weight of his attention made dishonesty feel useless. "I'm in law school," she said. "I clean offices at night. Your floor was listed as records. I needed the overtime." "And if you'd found what you were looking for?" "I would have taken it and left." He considered that. "You're very calm for someone who just walked into the wrong room." "I'm not calm," she said quietly. "I'm careful." Something like approval flickered in his eyes. "You'll stay," he said. Her stomach dropped. "I can't." "You can," he corrected. "And you will. For tonight." "That's not safe," he finished for her. "You're safer here than walking out with knowledge you don't understand." Her chest tightened. "You're detaining me." "I'm protecting you," he said, "from me and from everyone else who'd kill to know what you'd just glimpsed." She stared at him. "You expect me to trust you?" "No," he said. "I expect you to survive." Silence stretched. The city glowed beyond the windows, distant and indifferent. "Where would I stay?" she asked finally. His gaze dipped, just briefly, to her mouth. "There's a guest room." And something in his voice made it clear it was not the room that mattered. That night, lying awake in silk sheets she didn't belong in, Amara listened to the sounds of a man moving through the space beyond her door. Footsteps, a phone call murmured in another language, the low thrum of a life that carried weight and consequences she couldn't yet see. She should have been terrified. Instead, she found herself wondering what kind of man locked a door and then offered water. What kind of monster noticed shaking hands? What kind of billionaire watched her like she mattered? Across the suite, Nikolai stood at the window, city lights reflected in his glass of untouched whiskey. He told himself this was containment, risk management, another problem to control. But his mind kept replaying the feel of her pulse under his fingers, the steadiness beneath her fear, the way she had met his eyes without flinching. It had been years since anyone had looked at him like that, like he was not inevitable. He closed his eyes and saw his daughter's face instead, the weight of every decision that followed her death. The math, he told himself, made the blood acceptable. From the guest room came the faint sound of movement, a reminder that an ordinary woman now slept inside the fortress he'd built to keep his humanity buried. This was dangerous, not for his secrets, for him. And as dawn crept over the city, neither of them slept. both already trapped in a proximity that would force choices neither was ready to make.
The first threat arrived disguised as routine. Amara noticed it because Nikolai noticed her noticing. A black sedan idling across the street for too long, the wrong kind of patience, the kind that watched windows instead of doors. She mentioned it casually over dinner, testing him. "There's a car downstairs that's been there since noon." His fork paused midair. "License plate?" "Partially obscured. Driver hasn't moved." Nikolai set the fork down. Something shuddered in his expression, smooth and fast. "We're accelerating." "Accelerating what?" "Everything." That night, Victor doubled security. New protocols appeared without explanation. Amara's phone changed, new encryption, new passwords, a new reality sliding into place around her without her consent. "You're not telling me something," she said when Nikolai finally joined her on the balcony, city lights flickering below. "I'm deciding how much you need to know," he replied. "That's not your decision." "It is if knowing puts you in the crosshairs." She stepped closer, invading his space deliberately. "I'm already there." He looked down at her, really looked. The wind tugged at her hair, blew it across his knuckles. He didn't move his hand away. "You don't know what this does to people," he said, "once they realize you exist." "Then tell me," she said, "or stop pretending you're protecting me." A muscle jumped in his jaw. "There's a shipment." Her pulse spiked. "Weapons?" "Yes." "Where?" "Damascus." The word landed heavy, foreign, loaded. "When?" she asked. "Soon." "And you're still—" She stopped. "You're still letting it happen?" "I'm documenting it. Intercepting at the right point exposes everyone involved." "People will die." "So that more don't," he snapped, then immediately went still. Regret flickered. She didn't step back. "You don't get to use that math with me." "Amara." "No," she said. "You brought me here. You made me see this. You don't get to ask me to unsee it because it's inconvenient." He turned away, hands braced on the railing. The wind roared below them, indifferent to moral dilemmas. "You think I don't hear them?" he said quietly. "Every name, every face, I catalog them, I carry them. That's the price. That's not penance, that's self-indulgence." The words cut. She knew they had. She also knew they were true. "Look at me," she said. He did. "You want to stop Damascus? Really stop it? Then choose to." "I can't," he said. "Not yet." "Why?" "Because if I pull the thread now, the whole fabric tears. The CIA, senators, defense contractors, they'll bury it, classify it. No arrests, no consequences." "And if you wait," she said, voice low, "children die." Silence. "This isn't justice," she said. "It's cowardice dressed up as strategy." The word hit harder than any accusation. Nikolai's hands clenched. "If I stop now, I lose everything." She stepped closer, close enough that her chest brushed his arm. "Then lose it." His breath hitched, just slightly. "For what?" he asked. "For the people who don't get a second calculation. For your daughter. For me." That last was barely audible. His gaze snapped to hers. Something raw flared there. Want, fear, a longing he had buried so deep it startled him when it surfaced. "You're asking me to burn my life down," he said. "I'm asking you to change," she replied. "There's a difference." He turned away again. This time, when he spoke, his voice was stripped of armor. "If I do this, there's no going back." She placed her hand on his back, felt the tension there, coiled and rigid. "Then don't go back." For a long moment he didn't move. Then he covered her hand with his own. The contact was intimate, anchoring, too much. "You should be afraid of me," he said. "I am," she said honestly. "I'm just more afraid of what you'll become if you don't stop." That night neither of them slept. Amara lay in her room, staring at the ceiling, replaying the way his hand had lingered over hers, the way his breath had changed when she had said his daughter's name, the way he had looked at her when she had said, "For me." She wanted him. The realization shocked her, terrified her. He was everything she should run from: power, blood, secrets, and yet he listened. He changed. He stood on the edge of a decision because she had asked him to. Across the penthouse, Nikolai stood in his study, phone in hand, staring at a secure line he hadn't used in months. He thought of Anastasia, of her small hand in his, of the promise he'd made at her grave to make the world pay. He thought of Amora in the dark, whispering his name like it meant something human. He dialed. The line connected. Cancel the Damascus shipment immediately. An argument erupted on the other end. Voices, anger, threats. Nikolai listened, then spoke again, cold and absolute. This is not a request. He ended the call. His hands were steady. His chest was not. He leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling, and understood something that frightened him more than any enemy ever had. For the first time since his daughter died, he had chosen someone over revenge, and that choice had a face. In the morning, he would tell her, or it would destroy him. Either way, the world would not go back to the way it was, and neither would they.
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and it doesn't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video.
The cold helped. Not enough, but a little. Amara walked fast, hands shoved into her coat pockets, the city blurring around her. She counted steps, corners, breaths, anything to keep from replaying the video frame by frame. Nikolai supervising crates, calm, methodical, familiar. It looked like him because it was him, just not when they said it was, unless he'd lied again. Her phone buzzed. Victor, where are you? Walking? Stop. She didn't. Another buzz, Nikolai this time. Please come back. She ignored it. The park was nearly empty. The fountain shut down for winter, stone basin dry and cracked. She sat on a bench and pressed her palms together until they stopped shaking. She thought about Miguel, about Switzerland, about the deposits that appeared every month without fail, and how easy it had been to accept them once she stopped asking questions. Complicity wasn't loud. It was quiet, comfortable, paid on time. Footsteps approached. She looked up, heart jumping, but it was Nikolai alone. No Victor, no guards. You shouldn't be out here. You shouldn't be alone, she shot back. Neither should you. He stopped a few feet away, gave her space. I didn't follow you to control you, he said. I followed you because you looked like you were about to disappear. She laughed softly. Isn't that what everyone around you eventually does? His jaw tightened. I deserved that. Silence settled between them, heavy but not hostile. Tell me the truth, she said finally. Not the strategic truth, not the version you give handlers and lawyers, the actual truth. He exhaled slowly, like he'd been holding his breath for years. I did those shipments, not all of them, but enough. Her chest constricted. So the video is real, just not recent. How many? She asked. Too many. She closed her eyes, the world tilted. I documented everything, he continued. Every transfer, every payment. I told myself I was building a case big enough to matter, big enough to end it all at once. And instead? I became efficient, useful, trusted. She opened her eyes. You didn't answer my question. How many people died because of you? She clarified. He swallowed. Thousands. The word landed like a physical blow. She stood abruptly. I can't. I know, he said quickly. I know. That's why I never wanted you to see the box. You let me take blood money? She said, voice shaking. You let me save my brother with it? Yes, he said, and I would do it again. She stared at him. How can you say that? Because if I hadn't, he said, stepping closer, you would have walked into the FBI the first week and been dead by the second. Because Alexei would have silenced you. Because your brother would still be paralyzed and no one we stopped tonight would have been saved. You don't get to justify this with outcomes, she said. That's what you've been doing all along. I know, he said. That's why I'm stopping. Or pretending. He flinched. You think this is an act? I think you're very good at convincing yourself you're changing. He nodded slowly. Fair. The honesty disarmed her more than denial would have. Why me? She asked. Why bring me into this at all? He didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was quieter. Because you looked at me like a human, not a monster, not a weapon, not a resource. That landed somewhere deep and dangerous. That was a mistake, she said. Maybe, he agreed, but it reminded me I still had a choice. She turned away, staring at the dark trees. If Alexei sent that video, what does he want? To force your hand, to make you doubt me enough to release the evidence prematurely. Chaos favors men like him. And if you do, then he disappears in the wreckage, and so do I. She looked back at him. You're not the only one at risk. I know. That's why I'm asking you to trust me one last time. She laughed bitterly. That's a lot to ask. Yes. Why should I? Because I stopped Damascus, he said simply. Because I didn't have to. Because I did it when you asked. You could have done it earlier. Yes. Why didn't you? His eyes flickered. Because I was afraid of who I'd be without the mission. That sounds too honest to be rehearsed. And now? She asked. Now, I'm afraid of who I'll be if I keep it. They stood there, the city breathing around them. Finally, she said, I want to see the box. His shoulders tensed. That wasn't the deal. It is now. He searched her face. Once you open it, there's no going back. I already crossed that line the day I took your money. A long pause, then he nodded. Tomorrow, at the bank. Victor emerged from the shadows like he'd been there the whole time. You're both going to get yourselves killed, he muttered. Not tonight, Amara said. Nikolai glanced at Victor. She's staying. Victor's eyes narrowed. I don't like this. No one does, Nikolai replied. But we're doing it anyway. Back at the penthouse, sleep was impossible. Amara lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the faint sounds of movement on the other side of the wall. She wondered if Nikolai was doing the same. At some point, a soft knock came at her door. She didn't move. What? I can't sleep, he said. She hesitated, then opened the door. He stood there, jacket off, shirt sleeves rolled up, looking less like a billionaire and more like a man who hadn't rested in years. Say what you came to say, she said. I came to listen, he replied. She let him in. They sat opposite ends of the couch, distance carefully maintained. Do you regret it? She asked suddenly. What? Your daughter, she said gently. Do you regret becoming this because of her? Pain flickered across his face, raw and unguarded. I regret surviving, he said. I regret waking up the day after she died and realizing the world hadn't ended with her. Silence pressed in. She loved music, he continued. Piano, terrible rhythm, perfect joy. He smiled faintly. The men who were responsible sold weapons to both sides of a conflict, profited either way. I thought if I dismantled them piece by piece, I'd feel something like justice. And did you? No, he said. I felt empty, powerful, then empty again. She shifted closer without thinking, stopped herself halfway. She would hate what I've become, he said. You don't know that, Amara said softly. Yes, he replied. I do. Her chest tightened. She reached out before she could stop herself, resting her hand lightly on his forearm. The contact was electric. He froze. Amara, he warned. I know. This is a bad idea. Yes. Neither moved. You're not irredeemable, she said, but redemption isn't something you earn with one good decision. I know. It's something you choose every day. He turned his arm slightly, his hand covering hers. Warm, steady. Then stay, he said quietly. Help me choose it. Her pulse raced. That's not fair. No, he agreed, but it's honest. She should have pulled away. She didn't. The moment stretched, fragile and dangerous. Then Victor cleared his throat loudly from the hallway. They jumped apart like guilty teenagers. "Bank opens at 8, Victor said dryly. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow gets worse." Nikolai stood, hesitated, then said, "Thank you for not walking away." "I haven't decided yet," Amara replied. "That's enough for now." When he left, she lay back on the couch, heart pounding, knowing tomorrow would force a choice she might not survive unchanged. And somewhere deep inside, beneath fear and anger and moral calculus, something else had taken root. Something reckless. Something human. Something that might get them both destroyed or saved. The bank smelled of marble and money and lies polished smooth. They entered separately, timing staggered. Victor first, then Nikolai, then Amara 5 minutes later, dressed like someone with nothing worth stealing. The private vault elevator descended without sound. "No phones past this point," the banker said, already nervous. He knew Nikolai too well to ask questions. The box waited where it always had, matte black, biometric sealed, deceptively small for something that could dismantle governments. Nikolai pressed his thumb to the scanner. It hesitated, then unlocked. He didn't open it. "You still have time," he said quietly. "So do you," Amara replied. He lifted the lid. Inside, drives, documents, ledgers, photographs, faces frozen mid-laugh beside men who would later authorize death with a signature. Bank transfers layered like a map of corruption. Names she recognized, names she didn't want to. And one folder marked simply Damascus. She reached for it. Nikolai didn't stop her. The contents were meticulous: roots, intermediaries, end users, and, her breath caught, confirmation the shipment had been stopped, rerouted, seized quietly under the cover of a logistical error. Proof.
She walked into the wrong room to save one life and discovered how many lives were quietly being traded every day. A law student with nothing but debt, fear, and love for her brother accidentally unlocked 6 years of buried crimes, an arms empire disguised as intelligence work, a man who documented death while pretending it was strategy, a city, Damascus, saved not by heroism but hesitation, blackmail, and a woman who refused to look away. What followed was not a battle between good and evil, but something far more unsettling, a partnership between two people who knew they were already stained and chose to act anyway. Every choice cost something. Every victory came with blood still drying somewhere else. Redemption didn't arrive as forgiveness. It arrived as consequences. He didn't become a hero. She didn't stay innocent. Justice didn't come clean. But weapons stopped moving. Names fell. Power cracked. And one brother stood up and walked again because her sister made a deal she will carry for the rest of her life. This is not a story about doing the right thing. It's about choosing the least wrong option when every path demands a sacrifice. So now, ask yourself, quietly, honestly, if you were her, would you have pressed send? Would you have destroyed him and saved your soul, or saved thousands and lived with it forever? There is no correct answer, only the one you could live with. Tell me in the comments, what would you have done? If you enjoyed this story, don't let it end here. Subscribe to the channel for more emotionally powerful billionaire romances where silence hides secrets, love challenges power, and one brave choice changes everything. New stories every week. Your subscription helps these stories keep coming. Thank you.